begin with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we'll be discussing about the perfection of yoga. So many times in the outside world, we hear about the word yoga, especially nowadays in Western countries. This word yoga is very famous, right? So, can anybody tell me if you know the meaning of the word yoga? You can answer unmuting yourself. Yoga. Yoga comes from its root word called as yuj. And yuj meaning to connect, to link up. So the meaning of yoga means to connect or to link. But what has happened to the world today? Today, the meaning of the word yoga has totally changed. Because to link up or to connect or to unite, whenever there is there is link or connect, there are two things, right? So we connect two wires, then the electricity supplies. Similarly, in yoga, there are two personalities connecting. Who are those two personalities? The Atma and the Paramatma. The process by which the soul can link itself or connect to the super soul, that process is called as yoga. If somebody claims that he is teaching yoga or he is performing yoga, but by after performing the exercises or whatever process given by that person, if you are not able to feel the connection with the Supreme Lord, then it is actually not the yoga. So, what is the perfection of yoga? So, we hear about so many yoga systems, right? In a broader way. Nowadays, the yoga, what people speak, is limited to some bodily exercises. It doesn't go beyond the body. But actual yoga goes beyond body, right? When the Shastras mentions about karma yoga, about jnana yoga, about dhyana yoga, and then bhakti yoga. In fact, the entire Vedic knowledge is divided in three categories: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. So, similarly, we understand the process of linking oneself with the Supreme. There can be different, because there is difference between karma and karma yoga. There is difference between jnana and jnana yoga. Right? There is difference between dhyana and dhyana yoga. There is difference between, again, bhakti and bhakti yoga. So what is difference between karma and karma yoga? When somebody performs work for himself, that is called as karma. And when one performs work for the pleasure of Krishna, that becomes karma yoga, because there is link, connection with Krishna. When somebody is gaining knowledge to become a big businessman or to become a famous personality in this world, that is called as jnana. In fact, shastras are very rude to say that anything which does not help you to get out of this material world, to get liberation, that kind of knowledge is actually not knowledge, Shastra says. Is ajnana, is ignorance, Shastra says. But even if you consider that as jnana, that won't become jnana yoga unless that knowledge takes you to Krishna. When there is connection with Krishna, that becomes jnana yoga. Similarly, dhyana. People are doing so many types of meditations. Right? Somebody is meditating on some light, somebody is meditating on some bulb, somebody is meditating on some sound on the road, somebody is meditating on some inside the water. So many things. We see that people are distracted, or they have created their own ways of meditation, right? So unless this dhyana is on the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, that dhyana does not become dhyana. Similarly, bhakti yoga. People are devotees of so many other devatas. Until and unless you come to the point of surrendering unto Krishna alone, it will not become bhakti yoga. So, like this, we see all these yoga systems, but all these yoga systems, the ultimate goal of these yoga system is to reach Krishna, the Supreme Person. Karma yoga, yes, if you perform work for Krishna, you reach Krishna. Jnana yoga, if you develop knowledge about Krishna, you reach Krishna. If you meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead's form, Krishna. And in bhakti, in devotional service, you render practical devotional service unto Krishna, you reach Krishna. So the ultimate goal, the culmination of all yoga system is bhakti yoga. Because in the 47th verse of the sixth chapter is about dhyana yoga. So in the 47th chapter of the 47th verse of 6th chapter, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, after explaining to him all the difficult steps of Ashtanga yoga system. The entire chapter is about how one can control his mind, and how to focus the mind, and how to elaborately follow the process of Ashtanga yoga. And when that process was explained to Arjuna, Arjuna was denying to perform such a yoga system, because such yoga system is very difficult to be performed for any ordinary human. Though Arjuna was not an ordinary person, still Arjuna takes the position of an ordinary man and submits himself unto Krishna and says, Krishna, my mind is very, very, very chanchala. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna. Pramathi balavad dhridam. It is like a madman, and it is balavad dhridam. It pulls you away from your goal. Then finally, towards the end of this chapter, Krishna says, yoginam api sarvesham, because Krishna explains about yoga system, how the yogi sits straight, erect, and half closed eyes, meditates on the tip of the nose, right? And he lays kusha grass, deer skin, does not eat every day, does not drink water every day. Everything is regulated, follows strict brahmacharya. All these things, after following, speaking all these things, Krishna gives his final conclusion about who is actually a Ashtanga yogi, who is actually a yogi. He says, yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yoma. Yoginam api sarvesham, of all the yogis, he who abides in me, he who constantly meditates on my form. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana, and shraddhavan bhajate yoma. With great transcendental divine faith, he worships me. Shraddhavan, the bhajate yomam, one who worships me, yomam, bhajate shraddhavan. Not just worship out of formality, no, shraddhavan, with great transcendental faith. Same yuktatama mataha. I consider that devotee to be the topmost yogi. This is Krishna's conclusion. Krishna says, of all the yogis, he who always abides in me, he who always meditates on my transcendental form, he who worships me with great transcendental faith, is the topmost yogi. That is my opinion. Same sa me mataha. That is my mata, Krishna says. So you should understand that all these yoga systems, one may perform different types of, follows different types of processes, but until and unless they come to the point of surrendering unto Krishna, they cannot achieve the perfection of yoga. We take the example of Arjuna. Right? Arjuna, according to Krishna, Arjuna was a great yogi, topmost yogi. But we see that Arjuna was a warrior. Arjuna was a administrative head. He was of a kingly order, right? He was not a renunciant. He was not a meditator in the forest. He was not a pujari in the temple. Then how come Arjuna becomes topmost yogi? Though Arjuna was a warrior, was not a pujari, he was not a meditator, he was not a big scholar of the Vedanta, still Krishna declared him to be the greatest yogi because Arjuna followed Krishna's instructions with devotion. So, with the example of Arjuna, we understand that a real yogi is not the one who gets away from his duty, one who wants to get out of the responsibilities. No, a yogi is one who, without escaping from his duty, one he performs his duty for the pleasure of Krishna. This is a yogi. And today we see yoga has got such a profound meaning, such an elaborate understanding, such a wonderful process. But people of the modern world have limited this yoga only to some physical exercises. Just like there is a very nice story about how a queen had a beautiful bird. And when she went to a marketplace, she found a cage, not an ordinary cage, a golden cage. She brought the cage. She told her servant, please take care of this cage very nicely. It's a golden cage. The servant started taking care of the cage every day, cleaning it and nicely taking care of it. And after a few days of keeping that bird in that golden cage, the bird died. And when doctor was called to check how did the bird die, the doctor said bird died out of starvation. So in the course of taking care of the golden cage, so much excited about the golden cage, the servant forgot to feed the bird inside. So similarly, all of us in this material world, we are taking care of this cage, right? Is compared to golden cage because this human form of life is not ordinary. So we are busy taking care of this golden cage, the material body, forgetting that the actual living personality inside, the Atma, is starving for Krishna Bhakti, starving for food. So real yoga means to purify the mind and heart and to link them to Supreme Lord. That is real yoga. Bhakti yoga is the culmination and perfection of all the yoga systems. If somebody, you can see any person performing any kind of yoga system, if those yoga systems or the goal of yoga system is not directed towards Krishna consciousness, then they'll all fail, right? We see the example of Vishwamitra Muni, the great yogi, right? Started performing severe tapasya, but could not withstand the arrows of the Apsara from the heaven. He fell for her, and that's how Shakuntala was born. Whereas on the other hand, we see a bhakti yogi like Haridas Thakur. Maya herself came to test him, but she could not allure him anything. A prostitute was employed to destroy his brahmacharya. Even she could not have, she was the most beautiful prostitute of that time, but she also could not attract Haridas Thakur because Haridas Thakur was performing bhakti yoga, always chanting the holy names of Lord Krishna. So bhakti yoga is very practical in life, and it is very susukham kartum abhyam, very joyfully it is performed. Chanting the holy names of God, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, serving the Vigraha of the Lord, remembering Krishna. All these are the aspects of bhakti. By practice of bhakti yoga, one becomes automatically a perfect yogi. And how to practice this bhakti yoga? Bhakti yoga is practiced by simply following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. At least, Srila Prabhupada says 16 rounds of this Hare Krishna Maha. At least 16 rounds. Srila Prabhupada was very strict regarding chanting 16 rounds. Now, because you are in the sadhaka level, you must be chanting at least 8 rounds, right? But Our goal should be to chant 16 rounds every day minimum. That should be our goal. And now itself, if you are already chanting 16 rounds, it is very good. So first aspect of Bhakti Yoga is chanting, then hearing. Hearing Bhagavad Gita, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, what is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam? Bhagavad Gita are the words directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of God. What is Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam is spoken about the Supreme Personality of God. Bhagavad Gita is by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Bhagavatam is about the Supreme Personality. His pastimes, his transcendental birth, his transcendental various incarnations. Narsimha, Vamana, Varaha, Parshurama, all these incarnations are explained in Srimad Bhagavad Puran. Not only about the Supreme Personality of God and his Leelas, his incarnations, but also the pastimes and the Leelas of the greatness of great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Gajendra, Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, Pruthu Maharaj, Bhakta Hanuman, Shukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, Mahatma Vidura, Yudhishthira, Arjuna, Kunti Maharani, Navayogendras, what not, so many examples. Hundreds of great personalities, great devotees. We understand from them that how they surrender their life unto Krishna and how they attained the perfection of yoga. So, hearing these two, especially these two scriptures, Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. First is chanting, second is hearing, and then worshipping the deities. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami mentions about 64 items of devotional service, and among them, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says 5 are most important. And among the 5, we have covered 3: chanting the holy names of Krishna, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, and worshipping the deity form of the Lord, bathing the deities, dressing the deities nicely, offering food to the deities, offering incense, lamp, water to the deities, fanning the deities. All these are different activities that a devotee performs to please the Lord. And he lives a clean, regulated life, follows the regulative principles, and he serves with love. Whether it is in the temple or at home or at workplace, everything can become yoga when it is done for Krishna. Right? And now, all these activities we do, right? Chanting, hearing, serving the Lord, then serving with love, right? So, Vigraha, Shri Vigraha Aradhana, then associating with the devotees, inquiring from the devotees about Krishna, about Krishna Katha, about this philosophy. Then residing in the holy places like Mathura, Dwaraka, Jagannath Puri, Mayapur, all these places where Lord personally appeared and performed pastimes. So these all activities makes Bhakti Yoga. And when we perform this Bhakti Yoga day after day, the activities of this, then we reach the culmination of yoga, the perfection of yoga, when the heart is completely purified by performing all these uh, different angas of devotional service, bhakti yoga system. Heart is completely purified, and that is when Krishna will reside eternally in our heart, and we will be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. When the perfection of yoga is attained, the mind becomes peaceful and steady, the heart becomes pure and joyful, and one realizes his eternal relationship with Krishna. The soul ultimately returns to the spiritual world, back to home, back to God. Right? So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he who is always thinking of me within himself and engaging in my loving devotional service is the highest of all the yogis. Right? So to put all these points together, the perfection of yoga is not some physical balance. People misunderstand this, that when they are physically fit by performing different various exercises, taking their legs up, head down, right, and whatnot, so many breathing exercises, all that, and completely their physical body is balanced, they think they have attained the perfection of yoga. No, perfection of yoga has nothing to do with physical balance. Spiritual connection with Krishna, how much you are feeling connected to Krishna, that shows how much perfect you have become in yoga. And when 24 hours you are in constant connection, unbreakable connection with Krishna, then it can be said that you have attained the perfection of yoga. Krishna also says about this, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah pariyupasate. Ananyas, anya means other. Ananya means without getting diverted to anything else. What to be done without getting diverted to anything else? Ananyas chintayanto mam, thinking of me, meditating on me. Ananyas chintayanto mam, ye janah pariyupasata. They worship me like this. Without forgetting me for a moment, they worship me. Ye janah pariyupasate. And tesham satata yuktanam, they are always engaged in my devotional service. Bhajatam priti purvakam, they are worshipping me with great devotion. Such are the words of Krishna. You see? So, yoga does not mean performing some physical exercises for 5-10 minutes, or even the devotees who claim themselves as devotees, they perform devotional service morning, they get up and they do puja for 5-10 minutes and they call themselves as devotee. Oh Krishna, my life is surrendered to you. Whole day he'll be engaged in sense gratificatory activities. Morning hours, he'll do some 5 minutes puja. Evening hours, some 5 minutes puja. And when there is some problem, he says, no, Krishna is everything. When some devotee goes for donation, he says, everything belongs to Krishna, but I don't want to give any donation. All the money which I have, it belongs to Krishna, but I don't want to give a penny to the temple. So this kind of devotion will not work. Devotion means complete surrender. Complete surrender means constantly remembering Krishna. Constantly remembering Krishna is possible when we constantly chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, by chanting every day without fail, minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we keep ourselves constantly in contact with Krishna. And this is the perfection of yoga, what Krishna speaks about in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is the yoga which was performed by Prahlad Maharaj. By Janaka Maharaj, by Dhruva Maharaj, by Ambarish Maharaj, and all these great devotees, by Kunti Maharani. This is the perfection of yoga, right? So here I conclude. If you have any question, you may ask, or else we will end this session. No questions? Thank you all for joining this session. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.